I'm Heath from Cereal at Midnight.
My name is Brian Saur. I am from Just the Discs YouTube channel and podcast.
We were having a conversation about, does YouTube burn creators out? I know there's a lot of things going on with YouTube that seem like they're pushing creators to the limit. And I recently made a video, it was a couple of months ago, where I talked to, there was specifically the idea that kind of we're on a treadmill, and a lot of creators reached out to me and they were like, thank you so much for talking about this.
I literally sent you an email that was called Stuck on the Content Generation Treadmill, because I totally was feeling for you in that moment. And you do way more than I do on YouTube. And I love YouTube as a format. I'm really still pretty young in it. You know, I'm only a couple years in. You're sort of my elder statesman, but it's one of those things where I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that burnout because, you know, we talked about one of the things we talked about off mic was that, you know, you had said at some point, now probably a couple years ago, that the sweet spot you had found was 3 videos per week. You were finding that the algorithm, which you can talk about more than I can specifically in terms of your experience, but that was when it was really kicking in and helping, and the channel was growing. And so I was like, I had been doing 1 a week and realizing that wasn't really cutting it. And I was like, well, what? I can't do 1 every day. Heath's saying 3 a week. Let's try and do that. So I started to do that for a little while, and I noticed some growth on the channel. And I sincerely appreciate everybody that's ever tuned into anything that I've done and talked about. You and I are in a very similar space in terms of some of the stuff we talk about. But you know, it's just an honor to me that people even bother to click on the stuff, right?
Sure.
But
we should say, like, this is not a complaint video. Like,
no.
we're super grateful that we have a platform in the first place, but it's just, there is something that's happening right now, and a lot of us are noticing it, and we've started to talk about it, and this conversation comes out of that.
Yeah, because you had said the 3 videos, so I tried that and it worked for a while. And then I mentioned that to you in an email, and you were like, well, actually it's more now. And yeah. I was like, oh, really? And then, you know, so you can elaborate on what you've noticed in terms of the algorithm and feeding the algorithm, as you've, you know, rather eloquently put it. How is it now? Like, what point are you at in terms of, you don't know?
I really don't know. The algorithm is so mysterious, and I feel like it's constantly changing. I started with 1 video too for the first year of the channel. It was 1 video a week. Then I realized that was not doing it. And so I went to 3, and that was like, boom, everything just caught on fire. I was doubling my subscribers on a very consistent rate. You know, like 1,000 to 10,000 went pretty quickly, 10,000 to 20,000 went pretty quickly, and then it hit a wall. And I found myself, you know, 3 videos no longer seemed like enough. So I was like, well, maybe I'll try 4 and see if that reignites it. And that got a little bit further, and then that slows down. I'm like, well, maybe 5 a week. That's a lot, but maybe you give them 5-day-a-week content. And then I noticed it pick up a little bit, and then it slows back down. And then at one point, when I was at my most, maybe desperate is the right word, I did 19 days straight with no breaks in between. Wow. 19 daily posts. And I'm telling you, it brought everything in. It brought all views. I could tell YouTube was promoting the content, but then it always slips back down. It's never enough. And so I feel like whatever program this is, it wants to just take as much as we can serve it. There were days I was doing 2 videos. Days, 2 videos in a day. Like I do, like, you know, my regular video, and then maybe something would show up in the mail and be like, let me do an unboxing here. And that's craziness. That is just wired to burn creators out. I see some of these channels that only post a video once a month. Some of these guys, and they're bigger videos, they're well produced, and they're very polished, and they seem to be doing all right. So I don't know if it's something like the algorithm learns you and then pushes you, or if you deviate. I have no idea. So I mean, hey, maybe if people are watching this, they can weigh in with their experience.
Absolutely. I would love to hear any and all creators out there, anybody that's doing YouTube and that you find something that's worked, please let us know, because we're still trying to figure this out. One thing I had commented to you, and I think you had noticed something similar, was that when I would do videos about sales, for instance, a Kino Lorber sale or a Criterion sale. I mean, Criterion's a hot topic. I think the algorithm tends to grab those, or people really search for those. But even just any sale where you're giving advice about what to buy, it felt like the algorithm was grabbing those as something. And I only told you that it just felt like it was trying to do something altruistic, as if it was trying to say, oh, here's a video that's trying to help people. I guess, help people spend money or whatever it might be, but
That's
at
what
least
it is. Yeah.
help them with what they should buy or give them advice, because you do see like little videos about how to do things like that. Maybe you've done some search in your search history about, like, will pop up. And so like it's clear that there seems to be some kind of altruistic motive to the engine of YouTube, that they want to promote videos that are helping people. And in our world, the closest thing to that is these sale videos. And so I did notice that when I did those always tended to get traction, like almost every single time. And I was like, well, that's interesting. Although I'm not interested in doing just those. So I actually haven't done a lot of those recently. But there was a point when I was like, well, here's another sale. I got to do it because I know that it'll drive people to the channel. And it sounds, I don't know, like, I don't know how it sounds talking about growth and everything, but like, that's how you do this. If you're I guess that's sort of how you measure that you're reaching people and that the platform is helping you grow, is when you see those numbers go up. And I told you that I've told my, I also do another podcast called Pure Cinema for the New Beverly in LA here. And I've told my podcast partner, who's not a YouTube guy, not a TikTok guy, but I was like, I'd said, I can't remember if I told him he should try YouTube or if I basically discouraged him by saying, you can see yourself fail in real time. And that's kind of a joke, but it is, the analytics are so specific on YouTube, which I really appreciate. I wish I knew more about what to do with some of that stuff. And I know people like yourself and some other very successful YouTubers out there definitely know what to do with that data. But me, sometimes I just look at it and go, oh, I'm just not doing well at all. That's what I take away from it.
But those analytics are important, but I have a friend that I was talking about this subject to, and he was like, but you can't compare yourself to anybody else. Cause it's like, my growth is slowed. And I really feel like, I was like, all the other videos that I see succeeding are about buying things. And I don't want to do so many sale hauls. And he was like, you can't compare yourself to anybody else. Just be you. You're the only one. It was like, it's easier said than done when I'm looking at a screen that shows me people who watch your channel also watch these channels. And then it shows like the number of subscribers, the growth rates for all these things. I mean, they give you so much information, and they also, like, they really do push consumption. Like, I don't know why, maybe it's the helping people things, like you said, but YouTube pushes consumption videos, anything about buying or consuming. And so I have a joke, right? My joke is that, like, if I was able to interview Steven Spielberg, fewer people would watch that than if I made a video about my Steven Spielberg Blu-ray collection. This is a true story, in the last 24 hours said, yeah, I would rather just watch you talk about your Spielberg discs. And I was like, why are we this way, that we just want to spend and buy and collect, and we don't care about how it was made or the people? Like that's drives me crazy. And I see that because I want to have interesting conversations with people. So I find myself doing like the one for them, one for me thing. I kind of hit a wall at the end of the year as we roll into the new year. I was just like, I can't. I was just exhausted. It was just really exhausted because I was doing, like the 19 days straight kind of a thing. And I was like, I got to scale back, and I'm paying for it. Like, I'm watching every analytic that I have is going down. Subscribers are going, subscribers are continuing to come in, but the rate at which they subscribe is slowing down. And so when I have all these analytics, when I have, direct comparisons of the other channels that my subscribers are watching and what videos they're watching and what videos are doing the best, they want to see me buy things, and that's unsustainable. So
yeah.
Where do I go? Where do I go from here?
Yeah, no, that is tough. And you're right. We had talked about the platform seems to want to, not to get too in the weeds on this, but just pit other creators against each other, sort of in a generally friendly sort of way, but in a way that's like, hey, so-and-so is doing this and look how well that did. It's really hard to ignore that data sometimes and those comparisons. And I got to be honest, there was a couple YouTube channels I used to follow that I actually had to stop following, not for lack of enjoyment and not for any at all dislike of the creators. In fact, I love some of these people, but I just noticed they were putting out so much stuff that I was getting anxiety about it. I was actually like, every time I see this person running out to Best Buy and whatever, I feel like I gotta, and I never do those videos. And I'm like, maybe I should start doing those. And it was just one more thing in my head that I just didn't need. And I felt really bad about it, but I was just like, I just can't have that in my purview right now. I can't do it, you know?
You know what else that taps into is that the viewer can become fatigued with this glut of content too. And since I've scaled back, some of my Patreon supporters have actually said, like, I'm glad you did this because we get burned out too. I'm trying to keep up with everything.
Sure.
So I don't understand really how all this balances out. If we've got, you know, how do we reconcile these two things? We're not going to come to a conclusion in this video, really. We're just going to have to, and that's how it is. Like, what are we to make of this? The platform wants to be super served, or in my opinion, it does. From what I've seen, the platform wants you to super serve your audience, but the audience gets fatigued. The creator gets fatigued. I want to make more meaningful things that may take a little bit longer to do, but that's at odds with what I'm being told I need to do. That's at odds with my analytics. Do you find that to be true as well?
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. It's really hard to break out and do something different, partially because I don't always have the energy. And I know that sounds weird to people. I'm sure if they maybe don't do a podcast or YouTube videos or anything, because it doesn't seem like it takes a lot of effort. It really just seems like, oh, you're just turning on a camera. You're just turning on a microphone. Obviously they know that you and I are people that prepare, you know, for what we do. We watch the movies, we put together some thoughts, we maybe make some notes most of the time. I mean, there's some videos where you just kind of just do that. That's one of the things I actually like about YouTube is there are some times when you can do something where you're just like, I'm literally just going to do this without any prep at all. And people seem to be okay with that. And that was something I noticed early on where I was doing some things where I was like, I was totally ill prepared for this and I did it anyway. And people were very kind about it. And I was like, wow, either the bar is really low here or I've just been working myself too hard and overthinking everything, which is probably also true. You know, I think you and I are both that kind of person.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fascinating to me, this whole platform and what people come to it for. That was the other thing for me too that was intriguing was we were talking a little bit about old man syndrome and sort of, you know, things like, for me anyway, TikTok is something I don't fully get. And YouTube was that way for me, you know, 3 or 4 years ago. It was like my kid was watching YouTube and I was like, I don't understand this. I don't understand the people playing video games and you watch them and that's interesting. I didn't get it. And so I wasn't a big YouTube consumer, but since doing the show, I've become much more of a YouTube consumer and come much more to appreciate all the creators. And there's a lot of great people like yourself and others out there just really working hard and putting out interesting videos, you know, coming up with interesting ideas, new takes on things. And, you know, on a very even basic level, alerting me to cool Blu-ray releases, just stuff I hadn't heard of. I get that from you. I get that from a bunch of other channels, you know, and that stuff is great. But yeah, until then, I really didn't even understand the draw of it. And now I think I do, but I also understand that thing you're talking about, viewer fatigue. When I open my subscriptions every morning and I'm like, oh my God, there's so much stuff to watch here. I'm never going to get through all of this. It's tough, you know, but clearly there's some people who are voracious consumers and I certainly appreciate that. But at the same time, I feel bad because in a way, if they're trying to be supportive and you're driven by the algorithm to make more videos and they're driven to watch more videos, it just becomes this really, again, this cycle of potential burnout. And that's a bummer. But again, we both love the support of everybody that, you know, tunes in.
Absolutely. And ultimately the strength of YouTube is that it's the you in the tube, right? It's the creator that gets to directly connect with the audience. Unfortunately, there are all these other side aspects of YouTube that come with the territory, and they can be daunting and they can be confusing and they can be discouraging. And so this is really just an open invitation for people to share their experiences and to share their, you know, advice about, you know, what works for them. It would be great if we could just turn off expectations and make things that satisfy us. But again, then you get the messages in your creator dashboard, you know, like, hey, I'm the fewer people watch this video than the last one. And you're like, oh. So it's a challenge. Tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, I have the Just the Dis YouTube channel. You can just look that up, Just the Dis YouTube, and then there's a podcast component to that, which has been around a little longer. And I have a Twitter, Just the Dis Pod on Twitter and Instagram, and Pure Cinema Podcast you can find on Instagram, Twitter, and all your major, podcasting platforms. Those are my big outlets. If you want to hear movie talk, I do it a lot.
Brian, thank you so much. I really appreciate this conversation. And thanks to you guys who are watching this, weigh in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe to this channel and subscribe to Brian's channels. I'll put links in the description of this as well. Thank you so much. Take care. Until next time, we will catch you later.
Bye-bye.